Welcome to the TeenTix Arts Podcast, also known as TAP, a Seattle-based youth podcast that focuses on empowering youth voices through the exploration of art. Here on this podcast, we share our favorite artistic topics by exploring their histories and cultural impacts. But not by only offering our perspective as teens. We interview artists, from emerging teen artists to those well-established in their careers. I'm Caden.
And I'm Tegan. In this episode, we're talking about the Seattle fashion scene and how you can find niche groups within your community. When I was looking into the Seattle fashion scene, most of the articles that I found were along the lines of, why are people so unfashionable in Seattle? And is Seattle the country's worst dressed city? So this episode, we're going to dive into the trends we actually see and whether these stereotypes really hold up. So I think the main reason why people have the idea that Seattle's the worst dressed city is that most of the time, function wins over fashion. And I think one of the big reasons is that the weather. Seattle's rain and overall climate make practicality a priority, and people obviously don't want to ruin their clothes in the rain, and layering up for the cold just makes sense. Plus, Seattle has a really active culture, so with many people hiking, running, and spending time outdoors, it's easy to see why outfits that double as activewear are also popular.
I'm actually currently wearing an active t-shirt, and another reason is because when you get sweaty and wet from running, or then the rain right after, it's everything cools off.
Yeah.
And just dries off really easily when you get inside. And I that's one thing I don't like about kind of weird cotton polyester mixes, is that they stay wet and then they smell weird, and then you're
denim
stuck.
too.
Yeah, and then you're stuck in it for the whole day, and then you have to go back out into the rain. It sucks.
Yeah, I also think that people in Seattle tend to not bring umbrellas places because they're just used to it, so I think that also contributes to it.
Also because as a secret umbrella enjoyer, we get made fun of. I
don't think I've ever owned an umbrella. I also think the tech industry has a big influence on Seattle's fashion culture. With so many tech companies here, the workplace dress codes tend to be more casual and practical, which has shaped a preference for comfort and functionality over formal business wear. I also think the tech scene has contributed to the rise of technology and fashion, like Apple Watches and smart fabrics. Also, I think Seattle's known for its history of nonconformists who are not afraid to go their own way. And even though today it's a bit different from what we consider going against the norm, but I think this mindset has carried on since the 90s and contributes to practicality often winning over traditional style norms.
Talking about nonconformity, this might be a little bit different than what you were originally talking about, but I was reminded when you're talking about tech companies and something. Yeah. And I think there's also a really big kind of emphasis on ergonomics and kind of general body health and well-being, to the point they have made toe shoes. I think you've seen them, right?
Yes, I have.
They look like gloves, but for your feet. And there's actually a guy at my school who wears them.
Oh, wow.
And honestly, he's can I say cunt? No. He's cunty. He's serving. No. I had to pause. People make fun of him for them, but then he just keeps wearing them. And honestly, I believe in that. Go king, go you. Keep wearing those shoes. I bet your feet have better health than half the world right now.
No, yeah, that's honestly, they are serving.
I'm so sorry.
Can we please keep that in? I want that so bad.
But I think some people just couldn't care less about what they're wearing and what people are seeing from them, because it's just all function, all practicality.
Yeah.
So then that's also kind of ironically where some nonconformity comes from nowadays.
I also think how people talk about the difference between New York streets and LA streets. I think Seattle people don't care what you're doing. They just mind their own business. So I think that also contributes to that.
Exactly. I guess it's a little bit different for teens, though, in high school and stuff, because people do care what you wear. So I think it's great to, kind of talk about how teens have a huge influence on pop culture, especially when it comes to fashion. That's why it's so important to talk about the trends we're seeing. Not just in Seattle, but just in general, just everywhere. Because especially in high schools, like, you will get judged for what you wear.
Yeah, and you definitely see, like, a huge range of people and different styles.
Yeah. But I feel like another thing that, especially, like, at my school and kind of other places in Seattle, like, things that teens will wear, they kind of, like look very similar. And I mean that in, like, I'm trying to figure out a way to, like, not offend all the teens that are listening, but not gonna lie, a lot of you guys look like you just walked out of Pinterest.
Yeah.
And I mean that in the best way possible, but it's like same color scheme, lots of, like, similar kind of layering. Do you want to, like, throw some examples out?
I think that also, like, the stores contribute to it. So, like, when they see something trending, they want to put that in their stores. And I think that's why. I also think that people like to fit in and people like to follow trends. But also, like, I feel like people love to, especially just during the school day, because a lot of people are tired, high schoolers, but they love to go for the, like, I just woke up, even though they're, like, full glam, hair done, but then they wear hoodies. And I do that sometimes, but I think especially, like, in high schools, you'll see that.
Definitely. It's like it looks like I just rolled out of bed, but actually I spent a whole hour.
Yeah.
I actually slept in these weird sock curl thingies so I could wake up. My hair looks amazing.
Yeah.
And also this hoodie's not just your run-of-the-mill hoodie. This is actually $100 from Aritzia. And look, it's got the tag on it. And I feel like that is, like, another big thing in, like, kind of teen circles is, honestly, like, it frustrates me sometimes, but it's, like, the brands of hoodies are, like, we've got, like, streetwear brands, which I think that's cool, but nowadays it just feels like Supreme all over again. But
Yeah.
that might just be me.
I also think that people are worried about, like, being too overdressed for some reason. I mean, like, I feel like I'm usually overdressed. Like, I don't know. I just choose that for myself. But I think that a lot of people, like, still want to be fashionable, but they don't want to look like they put in a lot of effort. So I think that's also why. But the pajama pants epidemic is real. And if you see a group of teens, like, out, like, in a store, you know.
You're going to see pajama pants. And, yeah, I definitely agree. It's like it's a competition to see how, like, nonchalant you could get. Like, how much can you just, like, not care and, like, oh, my God.
But still look amazing.
Yeah, it's like, oh, my God, I'm just naturally like this. Like, I'm naturally just stylish and put together and everything.
I mean, it is, like, I think that's still fashion, though. I think, like, so. I think with the brands, they are sometimes super overpriced, but I do think that, like, the streetwear stuff, like, I think that is so cool. Just, like, having an oversized t-shirt or oversized hoodie. I think it's so cool.
Going back to kind of the streetwear part, I feel like one thing that's kind of, like, blown up on the internet is, like, does this hoodie, and it's kind of, like, referring to, like, the kind of the drop shape of the shoulder and how baggy does it get on you, and, like, can you, like, tuck it in, and does the pocket look flattering?
Yeah.
And is a hood big enough? Like, do you look like Little Red Riding Hood? And I feel like that, like, kind of leaked over into just teen fashion.
Yeah.
I feel like most streetwear, like, hoodies, just, they're already hoodie. Like, you don't need to think about it.
Yeah.
But then, like, now it's, like, getting into all the other stuff, and now all you hear is, does this hoodie? Does this one hoodie the most? And then it's like it's like an Aritzia hoodie. It's like $100. It's like, you don't need a hoodie for. Actually, no. Sometimes I do need a hoodie for $100. I was literally just talking about my hoodie earlier.
Yeah, I also think that, like, that has to do with, like, the shape and, like, how worn in it is, which I think right now people are looking for the, like, clean, like, kind of sharp lines type hoodies.
Oh, I thought it was the more, like, baggy, like, droopy, but, like, kind of makes you look flowy and a little, like.
I feel like the ones that I see, like, have a structure at the bottom.
Oh my God, yeah, they have, like, the little thick band.
Yeah, at the bottom. Yeah, it's, like, kind of cropped. Anyway.
Oh, it's cropped?
Like, it's like, it's, like, at the waistline.
Oh my God, wait, I think we're in, like, different hoodie circles.
Oh, really?
Yeah, mine are always,
okay.
like, they're they're hip length, and they have definitely more of a float.
So now we're going to be looking into Seattle fashion facts and seeing if we can debunk the stereotypes.
So Seattle was home to Nordstrom, one of the biggest luxury department stores in the world, and it started as a small shoe shop in 1901. And I feel like that also kind of just points to like the city has produced iconic designers like Tommy Bahama, which is kind of like relaxed luxury wear, kind of more summery, a little bit more tropical. I actually saw USC had their own Tommy Bahama line where they just had logos plastered on it, but it was interesting. It was kind of cute. And brands like Filson, which is a kind of heritage outdoor wear.
Yeah, and I think that anti-fashion is still fashion. Like, I think when people think of having a fashion-forward outfit, they assume you have to have the right clothes or spend a bunch of money, like the $100 Aritzia hoodies. But I think that in this, like, I think fashion can be whatever you want. I also think that people, honestly, they usually do, in Seattle, they usually do wear rain jackets and hiking boots. But outdoor fashion is actually a lifestyle here. And I think like brands like Patagonia and REI make functional, curated gear that like blends seamlessly with everyday outfits.
And North Face.
Yes. I also think that like fashionable outdoor wear and business casual is a global trend. Like a lot of people love those styles, and Seattle has been ahead of it for years.
Yeah, just like how Seattle's fashion is shaped by its weather, it's also shaped by its art and culture. Seattle's also like a city full of artists, musicians, painters, sculptors, photographers, fashion designers, and with places like Pike Place Market and the Vera Project, creative expression is everywhere, and all of that reflects in fashion. And Seattle's Asian, Indigenous, and immigrant communities bring global fashion inspiration to local boutiques and street style. Another big reason why Seattle is super fashionable is that we have a big thrifting culture.
Yeah, and I think that Seattle's thrifting scene is just way more than finding cheap clothes. It's all about sustainability, creativity, and unique style. We have so many vintage stores and thrift stores like Fremont Vintage Mall, Crossroads, and Value Village. And I feel like we have a good mix of curated stores and completely randomized stores. We also love sustainability here, and thrifting is a big part of Seattle's commitment to reducing waste and pushing back fast fashion.
Oh yeah, definitely. I've also just like seen fast fashion just pop up in thrift stores.
Yes.
And it's just like, I like kind of, sometimes I just kind of get pissed, but most of the times I'm actually pretty happy. I'm like, hey, at least other people are buying it and wearing it now, so it's not out of it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that like going back to the like completely randomized, I personally like that better, but a lot of people love the like curated trends, things like that, like Plato's Closet or different things like that. So as I said before, I think that fashion is whatever you make it, and I do not want to sound pretentious, and my taste is not always the best, and I have definitely had some questionable moments, but I love when people put intention into what they wear and curate it for them.
Oh my god, yeah, don't worry about sounding pretentious, because I'm also kind of on my little high horse, even though I'm in my dumpster fire fashion of functionality. Like you've been hearing from earlier in the episode, I was kind of looking down on some of my fellow pajama wearers. And that's because I like to put my own little thing into it, and even though I am a fully functional girly, I will still go and find cute pajamas, because I am not going to be wearing those red plaid pajamas. You cannot catch me. So do not worry about sounding pretentious, because whatever pretentious you are, I'm going to be twice as more pretentious, and I have no platform I shouldn't be pretentious at all. Like, you actually dress up. I don't. I show up to school in pajamas.
But they're cute pajamas.
Yeah, and I guess that's kind of what I wanted to say about, like, there's a difference between, like, low effort and kind of what I'll be talking about, which is why I kind of sound pretentious throughout this. And I mean that by, like, I still have a criteria for what I'm wearing, and I'll still try to make my outfits look good. Like, I want my colors to match, and I want things to, like, look put together-ish. The difference is that I'm just sacrificing a lot of the kind of self-expression and creativity for the quality of life. And that's why I'm bringing up my choice for pajamas, because it's not low effort. I look very hard for all of the pajamas. Like, it takes me, like, the whole school day, you know? I'll just be in English class scrolling on whatever site to find pajama pants. So it's definitely a choice.
I also think, like, talking about self-expression, for me, I think that, like, what you wear totally affects how people see you. And I love that, like, you can shape the image you want to put out there. It's like telling the world who you are without saying anything. And I think that's such a cool part of it.
I agree, actually. Coming from the function side, I see, like, people dressed up and kind of putting their personality out into the world. And that's actually, like I look at them, I'm like, I feel like I'm staring at them for too long, but it's like, oh my God, you're so cool. And that actually gets me getting out there and getting my own keychains, because I think as functional as I like to be, I still admire all of the creativity.
I also think that fashion is a very easy way to, like, relate to people. Like, if you're wearing concert merch, like, I think, like, if you're wearing a brand you love, it's an instant conversation starter, and it helps build a sense of community. Like, I love wearing my concert merch the day after I go to the concert to brag about the show that I went to. But yeah, I feel like it brings up conversations and connections.
Oh my God, yeah. We were actually talking about this before filming, but not filming, recording. But the Tyler, the Creator sweatshirt, I've got people asking me about it. But that was my attempt on trying to be fashionable while being functional, because one of his hoodies was really nice looking, but I did not actually go to the concert, but still
it sparked a conversation.
Lots of conversations. I had lots of people, like, ask me, did you go? And then I'd start lying to them, being like, oh yeah, I just crawled through the climate pledge pits that just straight through the lines.
Yep.
But that's not what I did. I got someone to buy it for me. And talking about, like, just buying things, I personally like to spend my money on, like, seeing shows and eating foods with my friends, or, like, buying like trinkets, like keychains. So going for the more functional clothing actually allows me to save more money to do that, especially if I find clothing that will, like, kind of hold up to time, or clothes from Costco in big packs. Those are ugly, but they do the job. I stay warm, I stay clothes, and I love it.
Yeah, I do think that most of my money is spent on clothes, so I definitely see how that could be helpful. But I feel like for me, fashion is like a form of art, and I love experimenting with outfits, like switching things up with the seasons, wearing different colors, and I think it's just like fun and expressive. Also, I love following trends, which is like a bit of a polarizing topic. And like some people value consistency and like timeless outfits, but I love capturing like the time, even if it means like looking back on outfits and like cringing, because like, I don't know, I feel like just looking at a photo of like where I was at, and like, I just feel like, I don't know, it's so cool.
No, I agree. I think, like, following the trends, like, it is a bit of a polarizing topic, but I will also follow trends. And even though a lot of functional outfits end up just, like, accidentally becoming timeless, maybe not because of how good they look, but just because of just how many people wear it for, like, every single day. But following trends always just gives more things to talk about, and definitely is easy when the only thing that you're looking for is the right size, right material, and boom, you've got all the trends. Maybe a bad thing that you have so many things that you could buy, but
yeah, I also feel like following trends doesn't mean like you have to spend a bunch of money like all the time like keeping up with it. Like personally, I think I go to the mall like twice a year. I usually thrift everything, and you can like find things that are trending in a thrift store and you don't have to spend a lot of money. But I love like taking inspiration from pop culture and what's ever happening in the media.
that's amazing. Yeah, I've actually kind of the opposite. I like will go to thrift stores, but not like by myself. I'll always go with friends.
Yeah.
Because I feel like if I end up in a thrift store by myself, I'll end up like that's when I actually start buying everything, because my criteria for cute looking clothes kind of low, and there's a lot of functional things in those thrifts. Like so many things, I'm like, wow, this has so many nice pockets that I can't find in the mall. So like actually when I go to the mall and I see all of these things, I usually only come out with like one thing, and that's like the one time I go out of like the 20, because all of the rest of them, like I can't justify the price for what it is. Like there's not enough like like functionality to it, but
Yeah.
I walk into Goodwill and wow.
Yeah.
There's like blue collar people's old
Yes,
clothes in there. Like
yes.
everything is functional, and
Yeah.
it's like I like need someone to like restrain me when I go into
Yeah.
like thrift stores or secondhand stores.
When I'm thrifting, I'm like locked in. Like I have my headphones. I'm looking through every single piece of clothing. Like I take it very seriously. But I think that like thrifting, I always like feel proud of myself when I find something cool, or also like everyone has worn the clothes in the thrift store. So you know at least one person has liked it, which I think adds to the functionality part of it.
Oh yeah, that's also a little bit comforting. Like when isn't it like, oh, I think I'm gonna make like this new unique like look, but I'm a little bit afraid about like how my friends will receive it, and then be like, oh no, someone already.
Yeah. I also like sometimes I do thrift things that are like someone's grandma just donated this, but I don't know. I think it looks good in the store, and then I go home and it's not that great. But I think it's just fun to like think about who has worn this before.
This is a little bit out of the blue, but another reason why I prioritize function over fashion is personally, if I was caught in an apocalypse, I want to 1, run freely, 2, have dry pants, and 3, have everything in my pockets stay in my pockets. So that means the pockets need to zip up, the pockets have to be deep enough, and the pockets, they need to be outside. 1 on the outside near the chest, 2 normal ones, and 1 on the inside. And then that's just the jacket part. I would honestly, if it's for apocalypse, prefer things on the arms as well, but that might, like, that's a little bit, like, pushing it for everyday wear. But if you're an apocalypse, what would you wear?
I would be dead.
I mean, I would be dead too, but you would be dead in fashion.
Yes. Personally for me, I don't look at the weather, especially for my clothes. Like, I rarely wear jackets, and if I think it ruins my outfit, I just won't wear a jacket, which is very unhelpful. But to me, I prioritize like what outfit I'm wearing that day.
I'm actually like the complete opposite, and I think like the one like day out of like 30, I'll wear something cute. I'll throw my big fat puffer jacket on it, and suddenly it's not a cute outfit. And then I'll try to excuse it by saying my puffer jacket is cute, but in reality, it's like a cope. But like, you're the kind of person that will walk by the street and be like, "Isn't she cold?" and just keep walking in my fat puffer jacket. I'm like, wow. I'm warm. As cool as being fashionable is, I think there's so much going for fashion. Oh, whoa. Freudian slip. I meant for function. Because, okay, one, guilty pleasure, tote bags.
I love tote bags.
I hate them.
What?
I think they're adorable, but something about just their design. Like, you don't need the little flaps hanging off of the handles. Like some tote bags, like, they're securely firmed on, like put onto them. They're firmly attached, and like all the weight is evenly distributed. But when it's like 2 dinky straps and there's like extra fabric like flapping around, like I love how cute they look, but it just slips down my shoulder and I can't. And there's no zipper, and just one big pouch.
My friend would like bring a tote bag to school every day instead of a backpack, and she actually had to go to the chiropractor because her hips became like unaligned because of the tote bag, because you're just carrying it on one side. So
I can imagine. Ow.
I guess tote bags are dangerous, but I love them. They're so cute.
Okay, that's why they're my guilty pleasure.
Yeah.
I agree. They're cute, but like for the sake of your back and not getting scoliosis or your hips being like skewed. Another kind of thing is that like jeans are actually more of a fashion choice for me. I feel like that's a little bit like kind of weird because jeans kind of fit all of my other criteria about having good pockets, having good material, lasting up to the weather, and like being good for the weather. But like the ones that like I wear are like for the cutesiness, and they drag on the ground.
Yeah.
The heels are ripped up. And then I feel the pains of, oh, this is what it's like to attempt, like, just a tiny smidgen of just being fashionable. And that, like, pushes me away. I'm like, oh, it's so uncomfortable. And then I see my clothes get destroyed. I'm like, oh.
Yeah. I do think the, like, one point that I totally get is that, like, I don't love wearing skirts and dresses because, I don't know, it's just, like, not as comfortable for me. But, like, jeans, I'll sleep in jeans. Like, I love jeans. I have so many pairs of jeans.
You sleep in them?
I don't, but, like, I would. Like,
you would? Oh, my God. I was about to be like, hold on.
Yeah.
Pause. Because, like, aren't jeans supposed to only be, like, washed, like, once every, like, 10 10.
I wash them a lot
20.
because
Oh.
I have a really weird thing where, like, I hate when they're wrinkled or, like, lose their structure. So, like, I want them to be very tight.
Have you ever thought about starching your jeans?
No, but I should.
Yeah, it's like when they like put all the starch in the iron, and then
I
like
should do
they
that.
could stand up on their own, like they stand. And I'm just like, whoa, you should start starching your jeans.
I actually should.
Practicality. See, this is where the function wins over. It's
Yes.
like you don't want to be washing your jeans like every single day, but it's for the fashion. Like they're wrinkled. You want them to like be tight, and that's when you starch your jeans.
Yeah, I should get into that.
Functionality. Woo! And yeah, I guess you could still be trendy and stylish while prioritizing function. But I think you end up sacrificing a lot of the self-expression, and honestly, you're missing out on a lot. Like, as a person vouching for function, I do have my own guilty pleasures, and sometimes I do agree. I look ugly. My clothes look ugly. I look beautiful. My clothes look a little questionable. That's what I meant.
Yeah, and I feel like, honestly, like, with the fashion side of things, like, it is time consuming. Like, I totally understand, like, if you don't have a lot of time, that is not very realistic. Like, I do wake up like 2 hours before school to get ready, but for me, it's just so worth it to like have something that I love wearing. But I definitely think that it's just a balance and like different personalities.
I agree. It definitely is on different personalities, and I think that's amazing because I think we need that kind of diversity and interests and expression and everything, because if you walk into a high school that's all like hyper conformity, blah blah blah, we're all wearing Lululemon and Nike and North Face, then you kind of get bored. And
Yeah.
I'm not speaking from personal experience, because they're wearing Aritzia, not Nike, not Lululemon. They're wearing Aritzia. They're all wearing Aritzia.
Yeah. So, as we mentioned earlier, Seattle has an extensive fashion history, and we're going to do a little bit of a deep dive into its history.
In the 90s, Seattle's grunge music scene, Nirvana, Pearl Jam, Soundgarden, wasn't just about sound, but it created a whole fashion movement surrounding it. Flannels, ripped jeans, oversized layers, and combat boots became a global trend, influencing runways, streetwears, and even high fashion brands.
Yeah, and I think the weather of Seattle made grunge what it is today. Like, beanies and flannels were initially for functionality and got adopted as a part of the culture group. Grunge fashion wasn't just about the look, it was anti-fashion, rejecting flashy designer trends for thrifted, worn-in, effortless style. We're going to share a little bit of stories from Seattle fashion. So Marc Jacobs, then a director at Perry Ellis, saw the potential of Seattle grunge in high fashion and designed a spring 1993 collection featuring luxury versions of the style with silk flannels, thermals, formal dresses paired with Doc Martens and beanies. However, the fashion industry wasn't ready for the idea of high-end grunge. Critics hated it, and Jacobs was fired shortly after the show. Ironically, the collection is considered legendary, proving street style could influence high fashion.
You've probably seen a whole bunch of people walking in giant puffer jackets from lots of different brands, North Face, Aritzia, etc. But Eddie Bauer created the first ever... But founded in Seattle, Eddie Bauer created the first ever quilted down jacket in 1936 after almost freezing on a fishing trip. So if you want to blame the epidemic of big black... oh, wait, that sounds bad. Now, puffer jackets are a staple worldwide, and unfortunately, I'm wearing one right now. Well, actually, I took it off because they make sound and I'm kind of hot, but I got some Blue and Tegan did not judge me for wearing one. I hope. I don't know. I can't read minds, but we've got two super fashionable people, and I haven't been killed yet for wearing one.
Well, I mean, thank Eddie Bauer for creating a super functional and fashionable piece of clothing in Seattle too. But Seattle also has a big sneaker culture that often goes unnoticed. While Nike is based in Oregon, Seattle helped make Air Jordans a West Coast staple. thanks to its deep roots with basketball, hip-hop, skateboarding, and tech culture. It fuels the demand for exclusive sneakers with companies like Likelihood and Brooks carrying rare sneaker drops.
Woo! Segment 3, take 1.
So, from personal experience, finding a niche group of people in your community can be really tough, especially as a teenager. It's even harder when you're into something that your city isn't known for. But trust me, there are so many people out there who share your interests, and you just have to find them. Most of my recommendations are specific to Seattle and Washington, but I encourage you to seek out smaller creators and brands in your local area too. So as we talked about before, we have so many thrift stores like the Fremont Sunday Market, shout out my girl Lisa, the Ring Table, love her, Lucky Vintage, Red Light Vintage, and Out of the Closet are all amazing thrift stores. Cap Hill is also a great place to go. Also, runway fashion shows. You wouldn't think that we have a lot, but we do. Dan McLean is a Seattle fashion designer, and she's super well connected in Seattle and puts on runway shows. So I would recommend following her Instagram, which is at Dan McLean. Also Piper, which is at This Is Piper on Instagram. She's a creative that is based in Seattle, and she models for a bunch of local brands and does runway shows, and is a great person to follow to get local recommendations.
And if you're in the U Village area, wait, shit, what? Mesh is a fashion club at UW, the University of Washington, and they put on fashion shows showcasing students' work, and it's open to the public. So pull up.
Yeah, I actually went to a Mesh show last summer, and it was so amazing. They had like a drag queen perform too, and it was so cool.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
And it's like it's like club funded, or?
Yeah, it's a bunch of students' work.
That's
so
amazing.
cool. Yeah, and students running it as well.
Woo.
So, like some overall connections and resources is the Fashion Group International Seattle, and it's a nonprofit organization that helps people connect within the fashion industry. They host mixers and events to foster networking and build connections. They just had one, I think, at Lucky Strike in Bellevue. Also, there's this online platform that I found through my internship, which I'm interning at a magazine, but Modem is an online platform that curates global fashion events, exhibitions, and design news, and it's often used by industry professionals to stay updated on trends and networking opportunities. This is everywhere, not just Seattle.
And All Things Fashion Tech is an Instagram account that explores the intersection of fashion and technology, highlighting innovations and trends in the industry. The founder is Mary Corlin Downs, who is a Seattle local.
Here on tap, we do professional and student interviews. Today, I'm here with Siena. She's a senior in high school in the Seattle area and is currently working on a capstone relating to sustainability and fashion. Okay, so my first question is, just tell me about your background in your creative endeavors. I know you're a very creative, artsy person, in fashion. I know you do photography. Just give me a little bit of the background.
Awesome. Yeah, so as you already said, my name is Siena. I'm a high school senior. I have always been interested in photography and fashion and some more creative things like that. I did an internship with a women's consignment store my freshman year, so I know a little bit about how that works. I'm really into secondhand specifically, which we'll talk about, a little more later, I'm sure. But I think I have a lot of fun kind of developing a personal style and looking for those unique pieces and just kind of the visual representation of who I am. I think that's so cool. So yeah, I'm into fashion. I'm into photography. I am working on a capstone project right now about photography, but I also do some concert photography.
Shout out. We had an episode about concert photography.
Oh, yes.
We're blending the episodes.
I love it. Yeah. The Seattle scene is awesome. Yeah. I'm also, I'm into portrait photography, a little bit of nature photography too. I just like it all. And then my background in sustainability is also kind of through my schoolwork. It's always been something I cared about. I was a Girl Scout.
Yes.
I love the beach. I used to want to be a marine biologist. I still love everything ocean related, but I really started understanding a lot more about sustainability through working with the Department of Sustainability in Issaquah.
Oh, cool. What did that look like?
Yeah, it was really cool. I did an internship with them my junior year, and I was helping just push kind of their efforts, both internally, help those processes and stuff, and also externally by promoting it to our community, helping plan our annual sustainability fair.
So cool.
Yeah, get sponsors for that, just create one-pagers about like our progress reports, just kind of learning a lot about like what does sustainability look like at a local level.
That's so cool. How did you like blend those two? Like, I think those two are like a lot of people would think of them as very different subject areas. Like, how did you find yourself combining those?
Yeah, I mean, you hear about the idea of STEAM, which I am such a fan of. I think it really is way more connected than
what is STEAM for the listeners?
Yes, so STEAM is science, technology, engineering, art, math. Typically we hear STEM, and the addition...
Women in STEM, women in STEAM.
Women in STEAM, that's what I'm saying. The addition of art is just to kind of represent that like that is not as far away as some people think that it is. I think science and art specifically are very intertwined. And I'm very into the like social sciences as well. So like the kind of systems around us and how those interact with our art and sustainability too. So I'm really interested in interdisciplinary work in general, but I think art is a really cool way to communicate current issues and like scientific data even. I think and we might get into this later, but one of my goals with my capstone project was to create something to inform and start the conversation about textile waste within creative people or people who are more interested in visual things and media, because I think those are the people who are less likely to read that article with all the numbers or whatever, or just it makes less of an impact on them, like the ethos, pathos, logos. Like, I just think that visual media and artistic representations of our issues is a really unique and cool way to get people thinking.
For sure. And I would love to know more about your capstone. I think, like, that's the reason why you're on the podcast today. I think it's super important to share, and I think it kind of sums up all of your creative work, as it's in the name capstone, you know what I mean? So how did you like think of this idea?
Yeah, so my work with my capstone dates back probably like over 2 years ago. I guess the real initial kind of step to this capstone was pitching the idea of a clothing swap to Issaquah Interact, which is like the teen service club connected to Rotary. I am co-president of it now, but at the time, I was just a member who had heard about this idea of community members bringing clothes that are still in good condition but didn't fit them anymore or was out of their style range, and swapping them for clothes that they do want or they would wear or that sort of thing. And I'm interested in the whole kind of mutual aid world and how that sort of stuff, trading, bartering works. And I just think like clothing is such a cool place to start with that, because we all have so much of it, you know?
Yeah.
And it's kind of a fun community bonding sort of event. And so I pitched that to my club, and we ended up hosting a clothing swap, which was really fun and cool to see that people are interested in this kind of area as well.
Yeah.
And then I was able to create a video for a National Geographic challenge about clothing swaps, and kind of proposing that as an idea for some local textile waste, is hosting these clothing swaps.
Yeah.
So that is kind of where my intro to this started, which was a little bit more of a specific scope, but that's what got me into the kind of conversation about reducing local textile waste, or not even local, but reducing clothing consumption in general.
Yeah. I'm interested in like your process. Like, how did you start working on the photo book? Do you have any inspiration? And like, why did you choose a photo book specifically?
Yeah, so for anyone who doesn't know, my capstone is designing a coffee table style photo book related to textile waste and clothing overconsumption. So I kind of decided that I wanted to do that because I liked the idea of my photo book being somewhere in a house, a public space, whatever, and people just kind of looking through it and getting that seed kind of planted in their minds. Like, even if it's not a tangible impact, I think starting these like conversations and creating awareness about the process of textiles in our country, in our world, is really important. And so I just kind of had that end vision as my goal. And then from there, I've been planning photo shoots, trying to think about how can I represent this massive issue, especially with the like limitations and stakes of like, I'm a high school photographer in one area of the world, trying to capture this global issue. But I've done a lot of thinking outside the box, and I think that I'm really proud of what I've produced and been able to kind of talk about through a visual medium. So I'm still working on finalizing my book, but the hope is that people looking at it will look through 3 different sections: the cause, the problem, and the solution. And essentially it will kind of talk about the problem of clothing overconsumption in the US and overproduction by the textile companies, and then the impact on our environment that has through all of the energy and water usage that the textile production process takes, and even just the kind of like environmental impact that discarding a piece of clothing directly has. And then kind of my proposed solutions to that, like the clothing swaps, and then also finding a personal style, or some of those more smaller personal actions, as well as kind of bigger systemic solutions proposed.
Yeah. So cool. I'm interested to hear like how Seattle affects this, like, because earlier in the episode we were talking about how Seattle is like a hub of sustainability, and with your capstone and like fashion, Seattle fashion, do you think that Seattle relates to this capstone? Do you think that it's furthered your photography and just different things like that?
Absolutely. Yeah, I think I've been lucky to connect with some work that people around this area are doing, with like clothing mending workshops and tool libraries, and teaching people, how to sew or how to create their own garments. I think there's a lot of kind of awareness about sustainability in fashion and how they intersect, and these kind of like social and environmental issues in Seattle, which I really, really love that people are already kind of aware. It makes my work easier, I guess.
Yeah.
But I think it also means that people will be more receptive to my work and kind of my hope is that people already kind of know that this is an issue, but don't really know where they fit into that. And how I think people in Seattle and any kind of average US consumer fits into it is like their own personal clothing, you know, the way you think about clothing and the industry, but also like your personal closet. What does it consist of? How much does it consist of? That sort of thing.
Yeah, I feel like going off of that, I think a lot of our listeners and people who are interested in TeenTix are high schoolers, younger people, and I think like hearing advice from you would really help. So I think like what's your biggest advice for people who want to be more conscious of their purchasing or overconsumption?
Yeah, that's an awesome question. I would definitely say that it's almost a mindset thing that really needs to be shifted, which I don't love the kind of narrative of like, it is our job to correct all this like pollution that like massive companies are creating, but we do have power, and I think it's important to recognize that, and we have power with how we spend our money. And I think that relates to like, where are you buying your clothing? Is it secondhand? Do they treat their workers fairly? And what is the clothing made out of? And what does the clothing look like? Is it something that's a micro trend that you are going to throw away, donate in the next year? Or is it something that you really love and you will style a million different ways over the next 7 years or however long? And so I think just the way you think about clothing, pausing before you buy something, even for 5 minutes, do a loop around the store.
Yeah.
Think like, do I have something close to this in my closet? Do I really need this? Or do I want to purchase this for the dopamine hit? I mean, I really like found that within myself. I'm someone who loves fashion. But I think that it's easy to kind of get sucked into 100%. That hole of like, fashion is a way to, you know, like retail therapy is real, honestly.
100%. No, like I feel like even, you know, you hear that a lot with like malls and like just, you know, bigger brands, online shopping. But for me personally, I find that with like secondhand and vintage stores, like finding something that like stands out to you, like is like so exciting to me. And that makes me want to buy it in the moment, even if I don't need it. Yeah. So I think like it can relate to so many different things, and like that is so real.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think like so much of it, for me at least, I would be curious if other people would relate to this, but so much of it for me is actually way more related to like the kind of societal expectations that we have right now, and like always needing to wear a different outfit, the most cool outfit. You know, myself in middle school is a very different person than I am now.
Repeater can't be caught being an outfit.
Yeah, repeater. Exactly. I think I was like a lot more concerned with like wearing the right thing, being the right kind of person to fit in and stuff. And I think that causes just such a consumeristic mindset, because, and it's not our fault, you know, it's an easy kind of thing that a lot of people fall into. But I do think like breaking that down within yourself to be like, fashion and personal style comes from lived experience in your life. And there's reasons that you are inclined to wear certain things or express yourself certain ways, and leaning into that versus the kind of ever-changing trendscape of fashion.
Yeah, and I think, you're the professional, but I think for me, what has helped the most in like a mindset change is like people don't remember what you wear specifically. They remember like the overall image that you put out. So
Absolutely.
like for me, like if you want to have a personal style, like think about the overall what you wear in a week versus what you wear in one day. I don't know. I mean, you're the professional here, but I just thought I would share that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think that totally goes hand in hand.
Yeah. So I wanted to ask you, where can the listeners find you? Where can they get your work, help you out, check your stuff out?
Yeah, so my photo book is going to be available soon on my website at sienamay.com, SIENAMAY.
Yeah.
And there will be a downloadable PDF. And there's also some other of my photography work on there. I am also going to be a vendor at this year's Northwest Folk Festival. So if you're
cool.
a Seattle local, find Siena May photos. I will be there. I will be selling prints as well as the actual photo book. So if you want a copy, please come say hi at the least.
Yes.
I would love to chat.
Yes. Thank you so much, Siena, for coming on today.
Thank you for having me.
It. Bye, guys.
Bye.
This was the TeenTix Arts Podcast. Thank you for listening. Hopefully this episode gave you a new perspective on Seattle's fashion scene and inspired you to explore local designers, thrift stores, or fashion events in your own community. Join us next month when we talk about another artistic inspiration from one of the TAP hosts.